Hello. Today, I'm gonna be filming a story time. This is the story of a controlling boyfriend who... There are no words. Grab a snack, grab some popcorn, grab some water, grab some juice. You're gonna want some. This is entertainment. This is comedy. My life is comedy. I'm just gonna start from the beginning. When I was a sophomore, I was in choir, and every year my choir takes a trip somewhere to sing, and this year it was Europe, and it was in Prague and Vienna. So basically this boy I'm talking about, we'll call him Clint. We'll call him Clint. Now Clint was in the honors choir, so he wasn't in my class, but that meant he was going on the trip. I had no idea who Clint was. I had literally never seen Clint in my entire life. Basically, while in Europe, we were on the school bus, and I think he was sitting behind me or next to me, like across the row, something. We started talking. He was nice. I was like, I don't know who Clint is, but like, he's a cool kid. He's nice. He's fine. So me and Clint start hanging out, but honestly, I cannot tell you this enough. I thought it was as friends. And I know that sounds stupid. I know it's like, really, you couldn't tell? No, I thought it was as friends, honestly, because that's mean. I'm not gonna say that. So people on the trip started seeing me and Clint hang out a lot, and at least 8 times a day, probably more, at least 8 times an hour, someone would come up to me and say, "Oh my god, do you like Clint? Because Clint just told me he really likes you, and he's so nice, he's the nicest person ever. Oh my god, you guys gonna date? Like, are you? Oh my god, like, you guys would be so cute." I just met Clint 2 minutes ago. Like, this is day 2 of the trip. I had a conversation with him on a bus. No, I'm not going to date Clint. I'm not. By the end of the trip, I had been asked that question probably 4 million times, and once by my choir teacher, who encouraged me to go for it because Clint was such a nice guy. I liked Clint as a friend. I thought he was funny. I thought he was nice. Yeah, like everyone said, he's nice. He's a nice guy. So we go through a trip. We keep hanging out. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's normal. And then, and then we get home. And literally when we land, I get a text from Clint that says, "Do you want to hang out tomorrow? Like a date?" And I'm thinking, oh my god, he does actually like me. Clint doesn't want to be friends. Of course not, because where can you find a good guy that just wants to be friends? You can't. So after a week of me telling myself I'm not gonna date Clint, after a week of me telling all my friends I'm not gonna date Clint, I go on a date with Clint. Our date was nice. It was nice. He took me to a sunset. It was cute. Like, everything was fine. So we start dating. Because, like, you take me to a sunset, I'm yours. Like, we start dating. And when I start dating someone, you can't do anything wrong. You physically can't do anything. You could murder my dog and I'd be like, I love you. So it was a good summer. I had fun. We'd hang out probably every day. We'd go on little dates. We'd watch movies. We'd have little picnics in the park. And then the honeymoon period ended. It ended fast. A couple months in, I started noticing things that Clint does. Now that my love craze was gone, he'd make little comments. A little background story on Clint. He was an overachiever. He had to be an overachiever or his parents would murder him, basically. So he did about 50 things at once without being able to breathe. I always felt bad for him until I realized that throughout our entire relationship, he thought that made him better than me, that he couldn't breathe. It would go something like me texting him saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" and him being like, "Oh, I just cured cancer and saved 4 orphans and learned how to play the trumpet. Like, how was your day?" And I'm like, "I just finished Gossip Girl for the 5th time." And And then, naturally, an hour later, he would text me again, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, still watching TV, just started another series. And he's like, really? Still? You're watching TV still? It's a Saturday. I finished a week of school and like 14 rehearsals in a day. I'm allowed to watch TV. There was this one time I went to a concert with one of my friends, and these like 30-year-olds sat down with us, and my friend like wanted to hook up with someone and I didn't, because obviously I have a boyfriend. So they're like, can I sit here? And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, why? You don't think I'm cute? And I'm like, my boyfriend's cuter, which he wasn't, but anyways, nice comeback, right? Nice. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for that comeback. I text Clint to let him know what I said. I text Clint to be like, look how clever your girlfriend is. So I tell him, hey, guess what just happened? These two boys sat next to us and I said that you're cuter. Like, that's funny, right? Clint didn't find it funny. Clint was like, you need to leave now. What are you still doing there? Why'd you even go there alone? Like, where's your friend? I was like, Clint, calm down. I told them to go away. Everything's fine. And then, I feel like this should be its own story time, but it's way too short and I find it hilarious. So I was just standing there. I feel a squeeze on my butt. Instantaneously, without hesitation, I turn around and punch him in the chest as hard as I can. Like, when I tell you instantaneously, like, I got whiplash. Like it was like I can't explain it. I later found out he went to my school. I don't think he knew me either, so it's fine, but like, sorry. So I'm telling him and I'm like, oh my god, guess what just happened? Someone touched me and I punched him right in the chest, and like, it was awesome. My adrenaline's pumping. Clint didn't find that amusing either, even though it was hilarious to me. Clint was like, now they're touching you. You need to leave. What are you doing there? Where's your friend? Why isn't she protecting you from men? It was a bad night. I got mad. I was like, can you shut up and see how funny this is? But like, he couldn't. After that, there were more comments. I remember volunteering with my friend one day, and I was like, which, by the way, me thinking this is ridiculous, but I thought, oh my god, finally, like, I have something to say, like, he'll be proud of me. When he asks what's up, I'll say volunteering, you know? So he did, and I said volunteering. He's like, oh, see, you should do that more often. Like, instead of watching TV all weekend, like, cure cancer. I think he just got it in his mind that I'm lazy, and like, he let people know it. Like, his mom would be like, oh, what's Katya up to? And he'd be like, oh, she's watching TV. And then his mom would be like, why is she so lazy? Like, his mom called me lazy for watching TV on a Saturday. I think she just raised him to think that he was better than every human because he likes to be busy with like 80 things at a time. It got to the point where I do stuff all day. I'd be like, oh, I did this and this and this and this, and then I did this, and then I went here, and now I'm watching TV. And he'd be like, oh, so you're watching TV. If you watched the How I Got Into Northeastern video, you'd see I talked about that online book I wrote. I was like, ooh, that's impressive. Like, I'm gonna tell him that so he loves me. So I told him that. I was like, yeah, I write this book. It's kind of sick. It has like 400 something thousand readers. And he's like, oh, can I read it? And I'm like, no, because at the time it wasn't done yet. I was like, no, when I'm finished with it, like, I'll send it to you. So then I went to dinner with his family, and they're like, oh, so like, tell me about your book. And I'm like telling them stuff. I'm like, oh, I started when I was 13. It's about this or whatever, whatever. And then at the end of the dinner, I don't know why. I don't know what brought this on. Clint says, you know, they think it's really weird that you won't let me read your book. And I'm like, oh, why? I told you it's not done yet. And they're like, yeah, I know, they just think it's fake. What? What? I won't let your son read my book. Therefore, it's not real. So I'm like, why don't you tell them that it's real? And he says, well, I don't know if it's real. I've never seen it. I don't have to lie to impress you. I don't have to lie about writing a book so you think that I do things with my life instead of watching TV. I do a lot of things. When I was dating him, I was literally in every single music club there was. I was probably in 6 organizations all going at the same time. I don't need to impress you. I'm impressive. I know I'm impressive. I don't need to impress you. From the comments, it then moved into a phase where he talked down to me. He was a year older than me. No, a year? 2 years? He was a year or 2 older than me. I forgot, honestly. So, okay, he was 2 years older than me. So I think by his logic, he thought that meant he was smarter than me. Clint would offer his wisdom when it was just not needed. You know when you like had a bad day and you just want to rant and you don't want advice, you don't want them to tell you what you can do, you literally just want to rant and you want someone to say, oh, that sucks. So, a TMI story for you. I was in New York and I was on my period, and when I get my period, I get fatal cramps. I die. I basically die. I've been to the ER twice for them before. They're bad. They're not your average cramps, okay? So I'm walking around the streets of New York with these like ER cramps and I'm like dying and no one's letting me sit down because we have to get somewhere. So I'm like texting him and I'm like, oh my god, I have the worst cramps, I physically can't stand, like, oh my god, I'm in so much pain, whatever, all these things. I still can't say this story with a straight face. I've told this countless times. I've told this to probably every single person that I've ever met in my entire life. I still can't believe that it happened. I'm telling him about my period cramps and how I can't breathe and how I can't stand and how I'm going to die. And he says, oh, I know exactly how you feel. One time, my parents and I were on a road trip and they were driving the car and we had an hour left and I had to pee so bad and they wouldn't stop. I know the exact pain you're talking about because I had to hold in my pee for an hour and they wouldn't stop. I'm gonna let that sink in. I'm gonna let that sink in because it's still like after 2 years it hasn't sunk in for me, so like I'll give you time. I thought he was joking. I thought he was trying to make me laugh. I replied, wow, thank you so much for your wisdom. And he says, you're welcome. What? This was a trend. Every time I'd complain about something, he'd tell me how he had it worse. And it was like, not worse. So I was lazy and then a liar, lying about my book, and then I was exaggerating everything in my life because he had it so much worse. But I stayed with him until this moment. From the belittling, we move into the obsession with where I'm going to college. Mind you, I am a sophomore. I'm like, I just have never thought about it. He was going to a college. I'm not gonna say which college. He had it in his mind that I was going there too. He had it in his mind that that was my dream school, that I wanted to go there so badly. So all our conversations would suddenly turn into, hey, like, what are your grades this semester? Hey, what'd you get on your ACT? I didn't want to go there. I honestly was considering that college, but just because he talked about it so much, like, I didn't want to go there. He completely turned me off to it. My camera died. So every time he'd bring it up, I'd basically be like, I don't want to talk about it. Can we talk about something else? He didn't care. The night that I hit my breaking point, basically, we were on the phone. He just kept talking about this damn school, and I finally like broke. I was like, look, I don't care. I don't want to talk about this. Like, I'm only a sophomore. I don't need to think about this right now, and I don't want to go to the same school just because you go to it. I haven't even been there, you know? And he says, oh, okay, just a question though. And I was like, what? He's like, you think you'll get into cum laude? Which is like this honors society thing for merit, I think. I'm like, no, I do not think I will get into cum laude. Why? Why are you asking me this, Clint? Oh, you know, I've just heard that people who get into cum laude get into my school. So I broke up with him. By the way, was he in cum laude? No. By the way, I had a higher GPA than him. Just saying. Suck it. I'm just kidding. Not really. I'm not kidding. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye. No time for no games. Tell me what you like, but it's never gonna change.